She had everything she was supposed to want, and it was making her sick. Her name is Lynn, 30 years old, Garden Grove, and for 3 years, she'd been very, very busy. Every morning, up at 5:40, coffee, lunchbox, daycare drop-off, 40 minutes on the 405, 8 hours of other people's problems, 40 minutes back, pickup, dinner, bath, bedtime, dishes, collapse. And somewhere in there, she couldn't tell you exactly when, she'd started buying things. Not big things, just things. A better organizer, a candle that was supposed to smell like calm, a book about habits, another book about habits. The apartment got fuller, and the thing she was trying to outrun got closer. She wasn't alone in this, not even close. We're living in a world built by people who make a lot of money, making us feel like we don't have enough to keep us buying. And the genius of it is that the fix it sells us is always more. More storage containers to organize the stuff we bought to feel organized. More planners to schedule the free time we can't seem to find. More self-help books, stacked unread on the nightstand. Lynn had 4. One of them was about dopamine. The irony was not lost on her. For Lynn, the apartment in Orange County had 2 bedrooms, a closet she had to force shut, and a junk drawer that had evolved into its own ecosystem. She wasn't a hoarder, she was just American, tired, 30. She'd stopped noticing any of it, the same way you stop hearing the freeway when you've lived near it long enough. Not the mess, that's not the problem. The problem is the moment you stop seeing it. Her daughter's name is Mai, 4 years old. One Saturday morning, Mai asked her to play. Just, "Mama, play with me," the way 4-year-olds do, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. Lynn said, "Just a minute, baby." She was standing in the kitchen, dishes in the sink, unopened mail, 3 charging cables going nowhere, a bag from the car she'd never unpacked. She meant it, she really did. She didn't move for 20 minutes. Something about that, her daughter's voice going quiet in the next room while she stood there, surrounded by all this stuff that needed doing, cracked something open. Because she wasn't lazy, she was managing, constantly, exhaustingly managing a household that demanded more than it gave back. There's a study from the UCLA Center on everyday lives of families. 4 years, real families, cameras in the home. What they found, the more stuff in the house, the higher the stress levels, not metaphorically, biologically. And it's not just clutter stress, it's identity stress. Every object quietly insisting, "Deal with me, remember me, you're not done yet." Lynn had this feeling, and maybe you know this feeling, that somewhere between who she used to be and who she became, she'd filled the gap with things. A baby shower registry that became a personality. An ex-husband's furniture she kept because returning it felt like losing the argument. Clothes in 3 sizes because the body she had before her daughter felt like a promise she still owed herself. The stuff wasn't the problem. The stuff was the answer she kept giving to a question she was too scared to ask. She didn't Google minimalism. She was watching a documentary about Japan. Late, Mai asleep, and there was this shot. Just a room, tatami floor, 1 low table, a folded futon, light coming through a window and landing on nothing in particular. She paused it, went back, watched it again. She sat there in the dark of her own full apartment and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Envy, not for the apartment, for the quiet inside it. There's a concept in Japanese culture called ma, the meaningful pause, the space between notes that gives music its shape, the silence between words that lets meaning land. In Japanese design and Japanese philosophy, empty space isn't a problem to fix, it's room. For a Vietnamese American woman who grew up in a house where day du, being full, meant you'd survived, meant you were safe, meant your family had actually made it, this hit differently. Her mother came to America with 2 suitcases and built a life from scratch. She taught Lynn, without ever saying it out loud, empty hands are dangerous hands. Lynn wasn't ready to believe something different, but she was ready to try. Here's what the minimalism content on YouTube won't show you. The first time you try to let something go, really let it go, it physically hurts. Researchers at Yale found that when people think about throwing away something they own, 2 regions of the brain light up, the same ones that fire when you're in actual physical pain. Ownership isn't just legal, it's identity. Every object is a small piece of who you think you are. She donated 47 items in her first week. She knows it was 47 because she counted, held each one, decided. A onesie Mai wore exactly once, then grew out of overnight. A French press from a version of her mornings she never actually had. And when she picked up that French press, she didn't just feel lost. She heard her mother's voice. You worked hard for that. You might need it. Don't throw away what you earned. A framed print an ex-boyfriend gave her that she never even liked, but tossing it felt like admitting something she wasn't ready to admit. 47 small funerals. And after all of them, she didn't feel lighter. She felt exposed. Raw, like she'd pulled the insulation off the walls and now the cold was getting in. Nobody warned you about that part. The Marie Kondo show made it look like you'd cry a little, fold a sweater, and wake up enlightened. It's not like that. Week 3, something shifted. She came home from work on a Thursday, key in the lock, door open. She called out for Mai. Mai came running from the bedroom, just running, the way she does, arms wide, like Lynn had been gone for a year instead of 9 hours. Lynn caught her, held on, and then they sat on the living room floor and built a block tower that kept falling over, and neither of them cared. For a full hour and a half, she was completely, entirely there, not thinking about the dishes, not planning tomorrow, not managing anything, just there. In Japan, there's a practice called Oheya Suji, the ritual cleaning of a room. Not for hygiene, for clarity. The idea that when objects stop pulling at your attention, wash me, fix me, put me away, hey, did you forget about me? Something in your nervous system finally unclenches. Psychologists call it attentional restoration. The brain stops scanning, stops bracing, starts resting. The room had cleared enough that she could finally just be in it. Here's the thing about silence that nobody puts in a YouTube thumbnail. When you clear out the noise, the buying, the scrolling, the managing, the endless doing, you don't find peace on the other side. You find yourself. And for a lot of us, that's the scariest thing there is. The clutter had been doing a job. Every notification was a reason not to sit with her own thoughts. Every purchase sent a little signal, you're solving something. You're not stuck, you're still becoming. Every full closet said, I've got options, I've got futures, I'm not the woman who got left. And now there was none of that. Just a quiet apartment, and the thing she'd been out running for 3 years, it was right there, sitting with her, waiting. Am I okay? She thought about her mom, 2 suitcases, a new country, nothing guaranteed, who loved her by making sure she never had to feel what empty felt like. She thought about her marriage, how it ended not in a fight but in a slow quiet. 2 people who stopped seeing each other because they were too busy managing the life they'd built together. She'd been trying to buy her way back to who she was before everything fell apart. She hadn't considered yet that falling apart might be exactly where she became herself. There's a Japanese practice called Kintsugi, fixing broken pottery with gold, not hiding the crack, honoring it. The idea, what's been broken and put back together, isn't damaged goods, it's one of a kind. The cracks are where the history lives. She didn't become a different person, she went back to her life, the job, the daycare pickups, the grocery runs, the FaceTime calls with her mom in Westminster, who is still, to this day, genuinely worried about why the apartment looks so empty, Con. But something had shifted. Not the circumstances, how she moved through them. One evening, a few months later, she was putting Mai to bed. Same routine, bath, story, the same 3 songs in the same order because that's how Mai wanted it, and you don't mess with the system. And somewhere in the middle of the second song, Mai reached up and held Lynn's face in both her hands, the way little kids do. Just held it, looking at her. Lynn didn't think about anything else. There's a concept in Japanese psychology called Ikigai, the specific reason you, not anyone else, get out of bed in the morning. Not a career goal, not something you put on a vision board. The thing that, when it's happening, makes everything else make sense. It doesn't come from accumulation. It shows up when there's enough quiet to hear it. For Lynn, it had 2 small hands and a very specific bedtime routine she wasn't allowed to change. Minimalism isn't an aesthetic. It's not 37 items. It's not a capsule wardrobe. It's not a white room in a Tokyo apartment that run you $3,800 a month. Here's what 8 months taught her that no amount of buying ever did. You can't shop your way to a version of yourself you actually want to live in. You can only get quiet enough to hear what that self's been trying to tell you. And what it was saying, underneath all the cortisol and the carts and the closets she had to force shut, was something both smaller and bigger than she expected. Not "I need less," "I need to figure out what I actually want." She still buys things sometimes. She still has hard nights. The apartment's not always clean. Mai leaves a trail of toys from the bedroom to the kitchen every single morning, and Lynn steps over them, puts the coffee on, and doesn't feel like she's failing. She knows what the mess is now, and what it isn't. And on a Tuesday morning in Garden Grove, California, nothing dramatic, just another Tuesday, she sat down at the kitchen table with her coffee before anyone else was awake. The room was quiet. She didn't reach for her phone. You're carrying something right now. Not in your arms, in your chest. That particular weight you've gotten so used to, you've stopped noticing it. What are you using your stuff to avoid feeling? You don't have to answer that out loud. You don't have to answer it today. Just let there be a little space for it. That space, that's where it starts.